So recently, I completed my Let's Play of the first Parasite Eve game. It got me thinking about the movie, so let's talk about it. Originally, there was a novel released in 1995. The film is an adaptation of the novel. Later, the game serves as a sequel to the movie. The title card is some primitive CGI that, at the time, probably looked pretty good. The first chunk of the movie is a bit confusing. We get a lot of short, seemingly random scenes of people just living their lives with no explanation whatsoever. The film opens on a weird aerial shot flying around some backyards with what looks like badly composited birds for some reason, bringing us to a lady doing her laundry in what looks like a wedding dress. Who is she? What is she doing? No idea. The film cuts to a guy giving a biology lecture in a school. For some reason, this shot of an elderly couple sharing a bag of popcorn just cracks me up. Another jarring cut, and now we're watching a pool with traffic congestion. There's a girl sitting by the pool, looking sad. Maybe she's on her period. Maybe she forgot her swimsuit. Either way, I don't know why she's not swimming. I guess she couldn't take the heat anymore because she walks up to the pool and just face plants into it. This young lady is Mariko. We also learn nothing about her because once again we cut away. This time, back to the laundry lady, now enjoying a delicious looking cup of tea. Who chooses all white decor? The upkeep alone sounds like a pain in the ass. She looks wistfully off to the side. And once again, we cut back to Professor Smartypants explaining about mitochondria. Another cut, and we see a doctor in a hospital. He seems frantic until he finds this girl. The doctor asks why she stopped coming, because she needs to come 3 times a week to have things taken out of her body. Girl, same. Is this Mariko? Is that why she nosedived into the pool? No answers as we yet again cut away. Here's a scene with a box with a ribbon on it for no reason. It looks like it's sitting on the dashboard of a car, but that's all we get. Once again, we cut away, this time to a scientist-looking lady giving a tour to some young school children. She tells the kids that there are a bunch of stuff living in our bodies, and some little shit calls her a liar. Like, what the fuck, kid? Respect the lab coat. Bored with her talk of bugs crawling under their skin, the attention deficit children get distracted by some snails crawling on a bush. Science lady decides to tell them a story about bugs living in the snails. Listen, ladies, sometimes you gotta know your audience, and this ain't it. She has a sudden realization that she's not paid enough to put up with these little assholes and dismisses class. Only for a bird to swoop down and chomp one of the snails the kids were so enamored by. Once again, we cut back to the science dude giving a lecture. Here's a fun drinking game idea. Take a shot every time someone says mitochondria. Actually, better yet, don't. I don't want y'all getting alcohol poisoning in the first few minutes of the movie. Through the window of the classroom, we see white dress lady walk up, and she looks like she's carrying something. After the lecture wraps up, these two walk together. It seems like Science Boy forgot it was their first anniversary. He was too wrapped up in trying to gather data for his experiments. That's what the package was that she had gotten him a gift. Isn't that just the cutest car? I'd really love to just drive around in it. So, because Dr. Science forgot to get her something for their anniversary, she gets all pissy and takes off in a huff. She doesn't even give him the gift. She just takes it with her. I'm sorry to say it, but you've got to expect these things if you're going to marry a man of science. Mr. Scientist then goes to his lab to check on his experiments. There's some exciting news. His rat livers are improving. Another scientist tells him not to work the intern too hard, and we finally get his name. This is Dr. Nagashima, and her name is Miss Asakura. Turns out she was the one teaching the kids earlier. While these two are discussing if mitochondria could one day go rogue, we get a brief glimpse of the doctor's wife driving. She's not looking so good. She soon rear-ends a truck in a Final Destination moment. The doctor is notified and rushes to the scene of the accident, but he's too late. That's why you don't put work ahead of your loved ones, people. None of us are guaranteed a tomorrow. At the hospital, we find out she's all fucked up. They operate on her, and unfortunately, she's soon brain dead. And we also finally find out her name. It's Kiyomi. Our poor lad barely has any time to grieve when he's approached by some hospital staff, asking if they can harvest her organs. See, that's why I'm taking all my organs with me when I die. That, and if there's a zombie outbreak, I can potentially be a tasty, tasty snack to the undead. But I digress. Back at the hospital, Dr. Nagashima is approached by a nurse and then a doctor from another hospital. This is Yoshizumi. He's the one caring for the patient who needs the organs. They try and put the hard sell on Dr. Nagashima and act like used car salespeople. What's it gonna take to put your brain-dead wife's kidneys into this 12-year-old girl? I have to assume they're referring to Mariko from the beginning. Yoshi explains that 2 years ago he transplanted a kidney into this girl, and it didn't take. Her body rejected it. Therefore, he takes it as a personal failure. He wants another chance to do right by the little girl. However, Nagashima is certain his wife is still alive, with some perfectly timed lightning strikes that kind of remind me of Frankenstein. Alone in his lab, crying and thinking of his dead wife, Dr. Nagashima has an idea. He agrees to give up his wife's kidney on one condition. He wants to keep her liver. Of all the organs to hang on to, I don't know if the liver is the one I'd choose, but to each their own, I guess. When asked why he wants the liver, instead of answering, he just makes this face. This is the face of a man who is seriously unwell. Anyway, his wife finally dies and they proceed to remove her organs. He also still hasn't opened his anniversary present. I hope it's not gonna go bad like food or something. We get a flashback to when they meet. He was dressed as Santa giving out gifts, and she demanded 2 because it was her birthday. Lady, that's not how Santa works. We get some more sappy flashbacks as Nagashima finally opens the damn package. And it's an ugly-ass tie. I'm sure he's hoping he can find the receipt amongst the wreckage of their car. Meanwhile, the operation is going on and seems to be going well, until a surgeon remarks that the removed organ feels hot. How odd. I'm sure that won't bring any negative consequences. Once given his wife's liver, Dr. Nagashima runs to his lab and begins performing dark ritual science on it. Underneath the microscope, we see some strange cellular activity. Also, Dr. Nagashima starts hearing the voice of his wife calling his name. Remember when I said earlier that he is very unwell? Well, it seems like he's getting worse. A bit later, Dr. Yoshi confronts Nagashima and asks if there was anything funny going on with his wife. It seems the cells from the transplanted kidney are growing like crazy. He also asks what was done with the liver. A tad late to start asking questions about ethics at this point, dude. Sane as ever, Dr. Nagashima tells him that his wife is alive and he wasn't going to sit around and let her die like a punk bitch. That's romantic. Can you really say you love someone if you're not willing to do a little bit of necromancy? Back at the lab, Miss Asakura is working on a presentation when some spooky shit starts going down in the lab. She hears a bottle break and goes to investigate. She comes across Dr. Shima's journal detailing his twisted experiments. At least he took plenty of notes. A lot of mad scientists in media just be trying shit and not documenting their findings. After some more investigating, she finds a puddle of mysterious origin. Girl, what is you doing? No glove? We just raw dogging the mystery goop? This is how 2020 started, isn't it? She finds the broken bottle fragments are labeled Eve. It's at this point I was certain she was about to taste the goo. But before she can sample the goods, more freaky shit starts happening. A pipe in the ceiling starts rattling, and we get jump scared by an adorable little lab mouse. While she's distracted by Stuart Little, we see a gelatinous blob on the ceiling move, and it drips onto her ear. We get a close of it as it slithers into her ear canal. Oh, that's just foul. Later, Dr. Nagashima returns to the lab and finds his precious samples have been tampered with. He begins picking up the broken glass from the bottle with his bare hands. Can this lab not afford a broom? We see more of the goo moving around. A large puddle emerges and forms the semblance of a lady doing a twirling ballerina impression. What I said earlier about the primitive CGI holds true here. I think the effects have held up pretty well. After gyrating sensually for a while, the goo fully transforms into Kiyomi. And yeah, they get right to it, right there on the floor, which has to be filthy considering they don't have as much as a broom in this lab, much less a mop. After collecting his sample, she melts away back into a puddle of goo. And a bit later, Dr. Nagashima is back at home drinking some tea and enjoying his post-nut clarity. He finds a notepad his wife left behind. This gives him some flashbacks to the kinky stuff she was saying during their freak-off. It seems like she was being controlled by some type of entity, even before she died. This thing was in some way guiding her actions and encouraging her to approach him in the first place because of his research. She knew he was the only one who could culture her into being. Regretting his actions, he storms back into the lab and destroys the samples. A lot of good that's going to do, bucko. There's already one horny blob monster on the loose. That's one petri dish you can't unfuck. After he's done trashing his own research lab, Dr. Nagashima heads to the presentation Asakura is about to give. Something seems off about her, though. She's speaking as the mitochondria, addressing humanity. One of the faculty tries to pull her off stage for not sticking to the script when she lights him up. Literally. His hands burst into flames. The crowd starts to panic, and she tells them to shut up and listen, or she's going to do the same to them. By controlling the mitochondria in their bodies and convert the energy to heat. That's one effective way to avoid mansplaining, I suppose. Where's the older couple with the popcorn? I feel like they would really appreciate this moment. So Eve explains her master plan is to replace humans as the dominant species. And she's already found the perfect womb to deliver the ultimate being. But who could that be? Meanwhile, Dr. Nagashima puts two and two together and realizes he's going to be a father. Dreading the thought of being a single dad to a blob monster while Unable to collect child support from his recently deceased wife, Dr. Yoshi informs him that his patient's uterus is transforming. We got Optimus Prime pussy in this bitch? The movie then cuts to Mariko in the hospital, freaking out. Rightly so, considering what we just learned. Something is going on inside her. We get shots of her belly bulging and moving around. The scientist, doctor, and lab assistant arrive at the hospital. And we see some Eve goop slide off the car and head towards the sewer. Back in the hospital room, Mariko stops freaking out and announces, "It's here." The Eve goo starts erupting from the plumbing like a gas station bathroom after $2 taco night. Our science bros arrive just in time to see Eve cradling Mariko. A nurse makes a little too much noise trying to escape, and Eve sets her on fire with a glare. Man, what I wouldn't give for that kind of power. Oh, I'd abuse it immediately. They manage to put out the fire by beating the body with blankets, as Eve just casually floats out of the room. Now she's just floating through the halls of the hospital, just setting everybody on fire. Dr. Yoshi makes it to a security room and starts sealing off exits to the building. And I kind of have to laugh because it looks like he's playing Miss Pac-Man for the ultimate stakes. Fed up with his shit, Eve talks to the doctor through a security camera and then explodes all the high-tech gear he was using. He's not dead, though. Nagashima and the lab assistant find him and discover she's heading to the roof. Nagashima makes it to the roof and begs for her to let the girl go. Eve, however, is unconvinced. She's still planning to replace humanity with the ultimate being, Mitochondria Eve. Nagashima is still down bad. Although Eve orchestrated them meeting on Christmas Eve, he actually fell in love with her earlier than that. He saw the first time she came to university wearing a pink dress, and he was a simp from day one. Not being able to take no for an answer, Eve sets him on fire too. Yet he continues approaching her. Eventually, Eve relents and straight up drops the child she was holding. They share a fiery embrace while Dr. Yoshi and the lab assistant arrive and scoop Mariko up off the ground. Is there a 5-second rule for dying girls? The doctor takes Mariko to safety while Nagashima and Eve burst into flames. Cut to Nagashima, finally lighting the candle on the anniversary cake his wife bought him, and he smiles. Then the credits roll. It's not over yet, though. During the credits, we get some flashbacks of Nagashima creeping on Kiyomi, and that, friends, is Parasite Eve, a tragic tale of love and loss, with a psychotic science experiment thrown in. While I enjoyed this movie, I would have a hard time recommending it to someone unfamiliar to the games. I'm no expert when it comes to J-horror, but I know the pacing can be a bit different. Still felt like the movie dragged in the first half, with so many pointless fake-outs and jump scares. I do think the effects looked pretty good. A little dated now, but they do hold up for me. It's the story and the acting that really sucked me in and kept me wondering what was going to happen next. If you do want to watch it yourself, I found it free on archive.org. This isn't a sponsorship or anything. I just really appreciate what they do over there. And I'll leave a link to it in my blog. But that's it for this video, and if you made it this far, please consider subscribing. It really does help the channel grow. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.